Hey guys, and welcome to another product review, and today it's the Arturia Spark. A little bit of background before we start in case you don't know. The Arturia Spark, people talk about it as if it's a drum machine, but it's actually more like a drum machine, an MPC and a workstation style product all rolled into one in software form. Okay. Spark runs on your computer either as a standalone instrument, in which case it has its own mixer and its own sequencer, it's completely self-contained, or it will run as a plug-in instrument in your favourite host sequencer, Cubase, Logic, Sonar, etc. Okay. Now, you can buy Spark just as a piece of software and use it on your computer operating it with a mouse, but you can also buy it in a bundle package with the dedicated controller, and that's what we're reviewing, the bundle package. And if you buy that bundle package, what you get in the box is you get the controller, you get the DVD with the content and the program, and you get a USB lead, and that's your lot. And this, of course, is the controller. So we're going to start by checking this out in a bit of detail, because nobody ever looks at it in reviews, you know. So let's begin by checking it out briefly in close-up with this HD cam. And it's not a factory fresh unit, it's a review unit. But you can see it's a nice bit of hardware, I must say. And it appears to be quite well made and nicely designed as well. The front panel, just like with the well laid out mixer, all the sections are clearly laid out and it's easy to see the functionality, and for someone like me who's used hardware for years, I can look at this front panel and pretty much see how to use the product without referring to the manual, you know. So well built and well designed. In terms of the construction, the entire front panel is a solid metal sheet. It's aluminium, I believe, about 3mm thick, folded over the front, so solid metal top. And then the end cheeks and the back are plastic. Okay, now this controller has weight, and this again is something not mentioned in reviews. Arturia don't list the weight on their spec page even, but I can tell you, it weighs about 5 pounds in weight. It's nice and heavy and chunky. And as a consequence of that, you put it on your workbench and it stays put. You can bash around in this all day, it's not going to slide around, you know. So it weighs about the same as a Lin or an MPC or an ASRX or any of the bits of traditional hardware that it's seeking to emulate, you know. And that traditional hardware feel carries over from the weight of the unit to the feel of the pots and pads as well. The pots, they're all heptagonal, 7-sided. They're all controller pots, they all write data, and they're infinite rotary, you know, they go round and round in either direction without stopping. Now, although these are controller pots, to the touch, to be honest, they feel more like traditional good quality analogue pots, if you get what I mean. They don't wobble around at all. They're nice and smooth with just a bit of resistance, you know. They feel really robust. Some of them are notched, like this couple up here, and the big alpha rotary here, which also functions as a switch. So, you know, really nice pots. And it's the same with the pads. You get 8 pads. They're velocity sensitive. They're backlit. They're rubberized, MPC sized, and they give just a little bit of bounce back when you play them, which makes it really nice to do licks. Very pleasant. Yeah, I mean, they're as good as anything I've used, going all the way back to Lin's, you know. So I'm surprised, to be honest, because the bundle package now is well under €400, and in British pounds it's only 325 quid, for God's sake. And at that price, when you think about a controller in inverted commas, well, to be honest, your mind tends to conjure up a vision of something really light and plasticky with feeble wobbly pots, you know. Just something a bit shoddy at that price, but I'm amazed. This, as I said, it feels more like a bit of trad old school hardware, you know. Round to the back, we've got traditional MIDI in and out. Now this unit also functions as a general purpose MIDI controller to control other software and even hardware, so we'll check out the functionality of these sockets when we get to that in the review. You've got a USB connector here which brings power into the unit as well, and here there's a 9V DC connector which you can use to bring power into the unit if you're not getting sufficient power from the USB connector, but you don't get the adapter, you'd have to buy it. And there's an on-off switch. Okay, so that's the back. The whole unit angles forward on your workbench like a mixer. And lastly, it's not too reflective. I've got a very bright light about a foot above this, but it's not horribly reflective. Look. Okay, so that's the hardware in terms of the build, you know. And now you should know something about it. And I'll tell you what, if the software is as good as the hardware feels, we're in for a real treat. So let's move on to part 2 now, installing the software. Check that out, make sure there's no hazards or issues with installing the software. And then we'll go to part 3, the initial firing up of the system, initial impressions, what's it like to trigger, what are the sounds like, what kind of things can it do. And then we'll get into the meat and potatoes, how does it all work. Yeah? So, the Arturia Spark. Let's get the software installed and get this baby fired up.